Julia Roberts was once the highest-paid actress in Hollywood, famously earning $20 million for a single movie. However, her last major box office success was over a decade ago. In recent years, her films have been considered disappointments by her own standards, forcing her to transition to Netflix just to find work. Even more concerning is that since 2002, Roberts has been battling a rare blood disorder that could potentially be fatal at any moment. Now at 56, Hollywood seems uncertain about what to do with her. Her golden era has clearly passed. Julia Roberts was born on October 28, 1967, in Smyrna, Georgia, but her story began long before she ever set foot on a movie set. Her parents ran the Atlanta Actors and Writers Workshop, one of the South's first acting schools to welcome both black and white students during the era of segregation. In 1965, they made headlines by enrolling Yolanda King, the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr. This courageous decision brought real consequences: threats from neighbors, loss of community support, and the risk of violence. They stood their ground, teaching acting out of an old church, defying racism around them. Though Julia was too young to understand what was happening, this environment deeply influenced her worldview. When Julia was born at Crawford Long Hospital, her family was struggling financially and couldn't afford the $1,286 hospital bill. In a remarkable act of gratitude, Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King paid the entire bill, an act of kindness they never publicized. Julia herself didn't share the story until she turned 55 in 2022, revealing that Coretta had even visited the hospital personally on November 2, 1967, to ensure the payment went through. Just months later, King was assassinated, and that quiet connection between civil rights legends and a future Hollywood icon remained a little-known secret for decades. Julia's early years were far from peaceful. Her parents divorced in 1971 when she was just 3. Her mother cited mental cruelty, while her father accused her of abandoning the family. The custody battle was long and bitter. Less than a year later, her mother married Michael Moats, a man with a temper who worked factory jobs and constantly moved the family to cheaper homes. Julia and her siblings, Eric and Lisa, grew up walking on eggshells. At school, she became withdrawn, missing classes and often appearing scared. She even developed a stutter that didn't go away until she was 9, helped by speech therapy and, unexpectedly, by acting, which gave her a voice when she felt she had none. Tragedy struck again in 1978 when Julia's father, Walter, died of throat cancer. He had hidden his illness to protect her. Julia was just 10 and devastated. She stopped talking, couldn't sleep, and her grades suffered. Her father had been her sanctuary. He left behind cassette tapes of bedtime stories he had recorded for her, which she listened to nightly until they wore out. His loss left a wound that never fully healed. Acting became a refuge, a way to process pain that words couldn't express. Meanwhile, things at home worsened. Moat's marriage to Julia's mother collapsed. Police were frequently called to their home. Her half-sister Nancy was born in 1976, and years later, Nancy would struggle with addiction and tragically take her own life in 2014. In 1981, after 9 tumultuous years, Julia's mother finally left Moats and filed for divorce, calling the marriage abusive. She focused on healing, opening a new acting school and volunteering at a women's shelter. Julia, at 14, began to find strength in herself. Though she initially dreamed of becoming a veterinarian, she loved animals and excelled in biology. Her passion for performance kept pulling her toward the stage. She played the clarinet, acted in school plays, and even fainted during a frog dissection, only to be cast as the lead in a play that same day. She spent hours after school writing scripts in her science notebooks and watching people in the vet clinic rather than the surgeries, already unknowingly studying human behavior for her future acting career. In 1985, after graduating high school, Julia moved to New York City with her sister Lisa. They shared a tiny apartment, couldn't always afford heating, and sometimes had to sleep in their coats. Julia walked everywhere to save money, went to multiple auditions daily, and was rejected over 200 times before landing a Clearasil commercial. That $825 paycheck earned her a SAG card and opened the door to real auditions. From the age of 7, Julia had a unique ritual, locking herself in the bathroom and practicing Oscar speeches using shampoo bottles as trophies. She wrote over 40 speeches in a leather journal and kept practicing even when the family lost power. She once told her brother, "When I win my Oscar, I'll thank you third." And she kept that promise when she won in 2001. Her first acting job was in a 1987 TV episode of Crime Story, which she filmed while running a 103 degrees Fahrenheit fever. Her performance impressed the crew. She didn't stop there, working 16-hour days, enduring minor injuries, and even selling her grandfather's pocket watch to pay rent, only to buy it back 3 years later after she became famous. In 1988, while filming Satisfaction, 19-year-old Julia met 35-year-old Liam Neeson. They didn't get along at first, but after a filming delay, they bonded and moved in together just 3 weeks later. The relationship drew criticism. She lost ad deals and a movie role over it. But Neeson opened her mind. He gave her 27 books to read and helped her grow intellectually. Though the romance ended, it deepened her emotional range. She poured that emotion into Steel Magnolias, earning her first Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination. To prepare for her diabetic seizure scene, she stayed awake for 47 hours, on co-star Sally Field's suggestion. During the funeral scene, she isolated herself for days, eating only crackers and drinking water. Director Herbert Ross wasn't kind. He once yelled it was the worst acting he'd ever seen. Julia was crushed but delivered one of the film's most moving moments in a single take. Her personal life soared with her career. She got engaged to Dylan McDermott just 19 days after meeting him at the first Steel Magnolias table read. They lived like a normal couple in New York, even rescuing a 3-legged dog. When she was close to being cut from Pretty Woman, McDermott called the director to fight for her. But fame took its toll. Just 2 weeks before the movie's premiere, Julia called off their wedding after a tabloid offered their doorman $25,000 to spy on them. Ironically, Julia almost didn't star in Pretty Woman at all. The role of Vivian was turned down by 7 actresses including Michelle Pfeiffer, Meg Ryan, and Daryl Hannah. Julia auditioned last, on April 3, 1989. Director Gary Marshall saw something in her, what he called luminous vulnerability. But Richard Gere was still hesitant until Julia, during a meeting at his apartment, slipped him a note that read, "Please say yes." That moment sealed their on-screen chemistry, leading to one of the most iconic pairings in film history. Despite the film's massive success, Roberts was paid just $300,000, roughly $273 a day after taxes. Meanwhile, Gere earned $5 million plus a share of the profits, eventually totaling around $12 million. Pretty Woman opened on March 23, 1990, earning $11.3 million in its first weekend and going on to gross over $463 million worldwide. Julia's red opera dress became a fashion icon, generating $30 million in knockoff sales. Her rise to stardom was complete, but it came at the price of privacy, peace, and personal sacrifice. Pretty Woman sold 2.8 million copies at nearly $90 each, and tourism at Rodeo Drive surged by 27%. But Julia Roberts saw little of that money. Disney executives collected bonuses while she got a lesson. By 1993, Roberts had learned to charge what she was worth, demanding $10 million for the Pelican Brief. By 2000, she shattered records as the first woman to earn $20 million for a single role in Erin Brockovich, a paycheck that changed Hollywood forever. But while her professional life soared, her personal life was unraveling. After her relationship with Dylan McDermott ended, she fell for Kiefer Sutherland while filming Flatliners. They got engaged in August 1990 and planned a lavish wedding for June 14, 1991. Roberts bought an $8,000 dress and $425 Manolo Blahnik shoes. It was set to be a Hollywood fairy tale. But by May 1991, everything fell apart. A 24-year-old exotic dancer named Amanda Rice claimed she was involved with Sutherland and that he had left Roberts for her. She even alleged he called Roberts an insecure ice princess, though she later walked back the story, saying the relationship was platonic. Regardless, the damage was done. Roberts was hospitalized, officially for the flu, but many speculated it was stress. Despite wearing her engagement ring throughout her stay, just 3 days before the wedding, Roberts called it off. Sutherland found out from someone else as he was moving out of their Beverly Hills home. On what would have been their wedding day, Roberts was with Jason Patric, Sutherland's best friend, flying to Ireland. The press branded her the runaway bride, long before she played one on screen. Later, she said she had planned to break things off gently, but Sutherland called her first and was harsh. He later admitted she had the courage to walk away and respected her for it. 2 years later, Roberts shocked everyone by marrying country singer Lyle Lovett in 1993. The marriage, seen by many as a rebound, didn't last. They divorced in 1995. But eventually, Roberts found something real. In 2002, she married cinematographer Danny Moder. They've been together for over 20 years and have 3 children, twins Hazel and Phineas, born in 2004, and Henry in 2007. After all the heartbreak and public chaos, she finally found peace, something she lacked during her peak fame. Meanwhile, her 1994 movie I Love Trouble was supposed to be a fun romantic comedy but turned into a behind-the-scenes disaster. Roberts and co-star Nick Nolte hated each other. They clashed from the start, avoided one another, and filmed most scenes with stand-ins. In a New York Times interview, Roberts admitted Nolte annoyed her and called him completely disgusting. Nolte fired back in the Los Angeles Times, calling her not a nice person. The film flopped, and the feud became more memorable than the movie itself. Still, Roberts bounced back. In 1997, she starred in My Best Friend's Wedding, a blockbuster that opened with $21 million and grossed nearly $300 million worldwide. Audiences loved that her character didn't get the guy. It felt real. The movie earned a 73% Rotten Tomatoes score and became one of the year's top 10 hits. Then came 1999, a year Roberts completely dominated. First, she starred with Hugh Grant in Notting Hill, which made $364 million globally, becoming the highest-grossing British film at the time. Just 10 weeks later, she reunited with Richard Gere for Runaway Bride, which opened with $35 million and ended with over $309 million globally. Critics weren't impressed, but audiences loved it. That same year, she made history again with Erin Brockovich, earning $20 million for a single role, a milestone previously reserved for male stars like Tom Cruise and Mel Gibson. But this wasn't just about the money. Roberts took a major risk with Erin Brockovich, portraying a single mother fighting a corrupt energy company. It paid off. The film earned over $200 million, and Roberts won an Oscar for Best Actress. It was her 3rd nomination, but this time, she took home the gold. She also swept the Golden Globes, BAFTAs, and SAG Awards. In her Oscar speech, she joked that she would take her time, because she had earned it. By 2001, her films had grossed more than $3.9 billion worldwide, without relying on superhero franchises. Aside from the Ocean's 11 series, she avoided franchises entirely, instead choosing meaningful roles. In July 2002, fresh off her Oscar win and newly married to Danny Moder, Roberts faced a health crisis. She felt constantly tired, and her skin developed unexplained bruises. Moder urged her to see a doctor. The diagnosis was shocking: idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, ITP, a rare blood disorder that affects only 3.3 adults per 100,000 and causes dangerously low platelet levels. The condition meant her blood couldn't clot properly, making even small injuries potentially life-threatening. Her dream of becoming a mother seemed uncertain. But she didn't give up. In 2004, she gave birth to twins, and in 2007, her son Henry was born. Despite the illness, Roberts embraced motherhood. Danny's attentiveness may have saved her life. His urging got her diagnosed in time. Roberts managed the illness with intense treatments: steroids like prednisone, IVIG therapy, newer drugs like romoplastim and L-trombopag, and powerful immune suppressants like rituximab. Her treatment costs ran up to $150,000 per year, but she kept working, balancing scripts, red carpets, and parenting. She hid her illness from the world, covering bruises with makeup and scheduling treatments around filming. Even co-workers didn't know. She didn't want sympathy, she just wanted to live. But her personal life was sometimes far from private. In the early 1990s, she was involved in a custody battle between her brother, actor Eric Roberts, and his ex-girlfriend Kelly Cunningham. Julia sided with Kelly, paid her legal bills, and helped her win custody of Eric's daughter, Emma. Eric was furious. They didn't speak for over a decade. He later admitted he was addicted and unreliable. When Julia gave birth in 2004, Eric visited the hospital, beginning their reconciliation. Julia and Kelly became oddly close. Though barely acquaintances before, Julia stepped in for Emma's sake. Emma eventually became an actress, with Julia as a quiet mentor. Family pain didn't end there. In 2013, Julia's half-sister Nancy Moats invited her to her wedding. Julia declined, saying she didn't trust Nancy's fiancé. Their relationship had always been strained. Years earlier, Julia had accused Nancy of secretly photographing her kids. In February 2014, Nancy was found dead in her bathtub at age 37. It was ruled a suicide. Julia canceled all public appearances and stayed home to grieve. The loss still casts a shadow over the Roberts family. Meanwhile, Julia's career began to dim. In 2016, Money Monster earned only $93 million worldwide. Other films like Larry Crowne and Mirror Mirror underperformed. Her $20 million paydays faded. In 2011, a new blow came. Her L'Oreal ads were banned in the UK for excessive airbrushing. Critics asked why someone like her needed digital enhancements, igniting a debate on beauty standards. But Julia adapted. In 2023, she starred in Leave the World Behind, a thriller for Netflix alongside Mahershala Ali and Ethan Hawke. The platform paid her $25 million, the same as her peak film salaries, without the pressure of box office numbers. Millions streamed it from home. It was a smart move. Her last Oscar nomination came in 2014 for August, Osage County, where she played a fierce daughter opposite Meryl Streep. Though she didn't win, the performance reminded everyone of her talent. Since then, awards have been quiet. Unlike stars like Cate Blanchett or Sandra Bullock, Roberts hasn't returned with a major critical hit. Some wonder if she's waiting for the right script, or if Hollywood simply doesn't know what to do with powerful women in their 50s.